So last year I did a video, I took like an old pre-built computer, I cleaned the whole thing up, I took the stickers off and everything, and painted the case inside out, made it, somewhat respectable, changed thermal compound, optimized it a little bit, and I made a fully functioning computer out of it. Like I said at the end of that one that I was gonna do it again, now we're doing it again. So I got this thing for 80 bucks. As far as I know, it needs a CPU. When I got it, the CPU cooler was not attached to it, and the kid said that it would just turn on and then it would start beeping and then turn back off. I'm assuming he just continuously cooked the CPU. I put this back on just to test it to see if the CPU was still good, changed thermal compound and everything, and that didn't help. So that's CPU's toast. So I ended up buying a new CPU, but to save time on this, because the last time I disassembled the entire thing and painted the chassis, and that whole process, I think it took like 3 days. Like, it wasn't a ton of man hours actually getting the entire thing done, but it was the waiting period for all the paint to dry and cleaning everything and waiting for that to dry before I could paint and multiple coats and everything. So instead of doing that this time around, I just have another case. So I'm going to take everything out of this and I'm going to transfer it into that case. So this is the case that it's going to be going into. Got a window on the side so we can see that disgusting green motherboard. Yeah, so we have a couple fans. I have more like in storage or whatever that I gotta go grab. All in all, it has everything that we need. I can put a hard drive in, I can put an SSD in, mount the motherboard, put the power supply in. I'm going to try to find another expansion slot shield because this graphics card only takes up one slot, so it's going to have an empty one, and that's going to look gross without it. So I figured, trying to clean it up, maybe we'll try and find another one, or at least replace them with all matching ones or something. It's a Cooler Master case. I have no idea which one. It's pretty old. So this is what I'm going to be using, and all I have to do is start taking the other computer apart. Because I know it needs a new CPU, I have one to put in, but I want to get the whole thing done. So I'm not going to put the CPU in to test it just to make sure the whole thing works. I'm just going to wing it, and I'm going to take the entire thing apart. I'm going to assemble the entire thing in here, put the new CPU in and everything, and then I'm just going to hope for the best. So these stupid HPs, they all use a Torx bit. I'm not entirely sure what was going on with this because the front says it's an i7, but when I was cleaning the thermal compound, it has an i5. There is the likely situation that I completely got screwed over and someone just put a computer together with a bunch of broken parts. Like maybe the motherboard's dead. I really have no idea. But that's kind of the gamble that you take when you're buying a computer off the internet for $80. With the mild diagnosis that I was given, and the fact that the CPU cooler wasn't attached when I got it, none of the pins seem to be bent. There's no scratches or anything on the bottom of the CPU. But I'll just wipe this away, and maybe you'll be able to see that it's an i5. So I don't know if you can actually see this, but it's an i5 760. So it's a first generation i5. Whatever. It's dead anyway, it doesn't work. Toss it in another case, and we're just gonna hope for the best. If it doesn't work, then that's gonna suck. But that's the fun. Again, buying random used parts off the internet with no warranty. Oh, thank God, this power supply is modular. Oh, that's gonna make my life so much easier. Rocket fish. Okay. MS7613, version 1.1. I'm sure that probably means something to somebody. Now, aside from these power supply cables and the Wi-Fi antenna, I don't believe I actually need anything else from this. Where does this go? It is almost 1:30 in the morning, and there's an airplane. Oh my God. There we are. I believe that's everything. Let's make sure none of these standoffs are going to interfere. So we have 3, 3, and then 2. So we're going to need these 3. Those can stay. We need these 3. We have to use this one and this one. We can take standoffs out and put them back in. Make sure none of those prongs actually go into the ports. We're golden. Now for the power supply. Also, for right now, it has RX Silver 5 on the CPU. Ghosts. Let's run the 24 pin and the CPU power. This is going to be too short to reach. That sucks. This is going to have to go up through the bottom and I'm going to have to kind of like sneak it across the motherboard or something. Oh, I hate that. And the 24 pin can come out here. Now if I can get the GPU, hold this down. There we go. Sneak it through there. It's not very graceful, but it works. Probably can't manage all these together and I'll hold them all straight so it won't look so bad. I mean, I guess it looks terrible, but it'll be acceptable. Hard drive time. Wow. Whopping 640 gigabytes. There we go. That's all good. I put the hard drive in the wrong way. I'm an idiot. I just gotta grab an SSD and I can plug that in. So I grabbed a bunch of stuff for my dad's, a bunch of fans and stuff. Got an SSD here, so this is a Kingston 240 gigabyte. So this is gonna be the boot drive. And this just mounts right in here. We just screw that in place. Or alternatively, I guess if you wanted to show it off, you could put it like this. You can see the SSD on the top. You know what, I got an idea for this. Let's go grab some vinyl. That's coming out. I'm going to cut this side off. I want to actually remove the vinyl by the screw holes here so that way they're not interfering. So now that we have those incisions, I will stick that down. Now we can just cut these off. It's not pretty on the bottom, but I mean, it's just a scrap piece of vinyl, so it'll do what it needs to do. So that's all good. An incision here. And then again, right here. Let's just cut those off. So now let's go over this with the heat gun again, push everything in, make sure it's seated nicely. The SSD is done. These things here, Apivia. Yeah, that's a brand name that I've heard of. I like these things. These feel like garbage. Oh, they're Corsair. These feel like China fans. Like it's that like super cheap breaky plastic that like if you flex it, it shatters into a million pieces. Hey, these have lights though. Okay, maybe I'll put both of these in the front then. So the Corsair logos are gonna face up, just in case you can see them from the inside. So that bottom one's in as low as it'll go. This one I want to be as high as it goes, so that way it fills at least a good portion of the amount of room in there. To route these, I gotta figure out where I'm gonna plug it in. This motherboard only has one fan header, right here. Okay, that hinders my plan a bit. Oh no, I forgot to grab the SATA cables. I only have the two super small ones that this comes with. I had a whole bunch of them that I forgot at my dad's, because these aren't going to be long enough. Well, that sucks. But these right here would also be a good screw hole for the Wi-Fi antenna. Yeah, so we can just put it right there. Wi-Fi antenna is in place. So I guess this can actually go back in. Actually, you can see this. Carbon goes in this direction. Let's just do another piece. Perfect. I guess that's pretty much it for now. We have to wait until I get the SATA cables and then can start cable managing everything. Well, it's been about a month. Again, finally have this little like super sketchy adapter thing or whatever. And it goes from one PWM connector to 5. So that's definitely not going to light on fire at all. So now I can have the two front fans and a rear exhaust fan, giving it a full sweep of airflow. So that's kind of cool. Now I don't know how reliable this is going to be if you actually hooked up all 5, because the wires themselves, they're fairly beefy, but the traces on the motherboard still have to output that power to those connectors. So if we pull tons of power from it, hopefully the motherboard is smart enough to not overload and send too much power and burn the traces out. And it's definitely a thing that some motherboards don't have. It's over voltage protection. And given that this is just an OEM HP board, you know, I can't imagine it has a lot of that in it, so we're kind of playing with fire. Just gotta paint these things, put the case back together. Now it's paint time. Well, I have no idea where I'm at for like this project and what the last thing I recorded was. Right now, I finished it, finally. I think from the last time that I worked on it until this point right now has been almost a year. But it's all done. You can see the LED fans are working. Little magnetic filter up here, just comes right out. All nice and clean. 500 watt power supply. Then we got the Asus GTX 750, the Intel i7 870, 8 gigabytes of RAM, and I just finished installing WinNord 19. So you can see here, 223 gigabytes formatted, so this is a 240 gig SSD, and then 596 gigabyte formatted, so that's the 640 gigabyte hard drive. And then I've reallocated these like library directories right here into this drive here, so that way when you download something and it goes to downloads, this directory right here is actually the hard drive. So that means that the SSD itself is reserved for like programs and games and stuff that actually require the higher speed storage. And then for just bulk stuff, it all goes onto the hard drive where speed isn't a concern. Then under system, you can see again, there's the CPU, 8 gigabytes of RAM. And for the GPU, the latest NVIDIA driver, all of that's good. And then down here in the start menu, you can see that it's just heavily debloated. Like that's it, that's all it comes with. Covers are all painted black. I can't remember if I showed that in like previous clips or whatever, just because it's been so long since I've had time to actually work on this again. But I do remember that I forgot to paint those. I mean, like realistically, this thing is completely done. It's ready to go. So for someone just starting out, this is like the perfect build because it already has really good specs for like something this old, because it's an i7 870 and like it has 8 gigs of RAM and everything and an SSD with enough space for like quite a few games. So I figure, you know, like the original like $80 computer, like how this project started, and like the 20 bucks for the CPU that I had to buy for it to actually fix it, and then just like throwing like some old crap that I had laying around. I'm in it for about 100 bucks. I went on eBay and I priced out every single component as cheap as possible with shipping from North America. So that includes Canada and the US. And in listings from the US, I also accounted for the import taxes and everything. And with all of the parts to essentially completely rebuild this entire thing from the ground up, it was $556 Canadian. So I listed it for $550, and right now is the waiting period. So now I just have to wait and see what people offer. And then once it's gone, I'll show you what I got for it, the profit margin, and that's going to be it. Okay. All right. So, conclusion, I only had it listed for about a week, and then I had one person message about the computer. Only one. And they just asked, like, you know, like, would I take $400? And I said, you know, I've only had it listed for about a week, but like, if you're serious, you wanted to come pick it up today, I'll sell it for 500 bucks. And he said, okay, perfect. I'll come pick it up. Because of the way he paid me, I already put the money in the bank. This wasn't something that I could just hold on to. So I'll throw a picture up so you can see it. And that is $400 in $5 bills, and then another $100 in loonies or $1 coins. To me, the computer cost me $100. You know, I put a few hours into labor, fixing it all up, just like got rid of a bunch of old parts and tossed it all together, sold it for $500, made a $400 profit. So that one's done, and it's not even really about the money on these projects. It's just really fun because I keep getting to build a computer, and then with the profits from that one, I build another computer. Say hello to the next project. I don't know when this one's going to be done or when the video is going to come up, but I'm going to start on it soon. But just like the other one, that took me like 2 years to finish that computer just because other stuff kept coming up. So don't hold your breath on this. Who knows when it's going to happen, but this is the second video in the series, so I'm just going to keep doing it. Like the video if you liked it, subscribe if you haven't already. Join the members program if you want to help support this stuff. That helps out, or just don't do any of it. I'm not telling you what to do.